this video, I'm giving you 4 research-backed exercises that I wish I had known at 22 that would have gotten me on track sooner for the job of my dreams. My name is Lissy, and I've spent over 15 years studying stress and performance at places like MIT and Google. But before that, I was answering emails from my bed at midnight, completely burned out at age 28. Like full on eating strawberry frosted donuts to fuel my trip to work, crying over my Sunday scaries, wondering if I was ever gonna find a job or career that felt good. Coming up, I'll cover how to do things like a clinical energy audit to identify the exact tasks that are quietly draining your will to live. Then we'll replace the typical vague 5-year plan with a 2-year skills map that shifts your focus to mastering portable, high-impact skills rather than just chasing job titles. Let's dive in. What did you do last week at work that made you completely lose track of time? Seriously, take a second. Genuinely think about it. Here's the career trap that nobody warns you about. We optimize for what we're good at as opposed to what we actually enjoy. You can be quietly excellent at something that absolutely drains your soul. Like for me, in my 20s, project planning. I was amazing at building detailed, thoughtful, organized project plans that brought together tons of people on very complex, tight timelines. I also wanted to throw my laptop out the window every single time, but I kept being asked to write one because I was so good at it. And every little project plan chipped away at my will to live. Psychologists call this the competency trap. You get rewarded for something, so you keep doing it, and you get positive feedback, and then you get stuck in this loop of doing the thing just because you're good at it. Meanwhile, your energy is starting to hemorrhage, and you can't figure out why every Sunday night feels like existential dread. So your first exercise is what I call the energy audit. For 5 days, I want you to go ahead and track your tasks. At the end of each day, I want you to go through all the things that you did and mark them as either energizing, neutral, or draining. Don't overthink it. Just put your honest gut reactions. By the end of the week, you'll have a map of what actually lights you up versus what you're simply tolerating. And that map is worth more than any other personality or career quiz you could possibly take. Here's looking at you, Myers-Briggs. This exercise is rooted in research on what's called job crafting. Professors Amy W. at the Yale School of Management and Professor Jane Dutton at the University of Michigan published a paper back in 2001. And they found that employees who scheduled their day around the tasks that actually bring them energy, even in small ways without changing their official job description, report significantly higher engagement, a stronger sense of purpose, and lower rates of burnout than people who simply just respond to whatever lands in their inbox at whatever time. Pretty cool, huh? So the energy audit in many ways is like data. But without this next tool, you very well could be using that data to make a decision that you care very little about. When I was 22, someone asked me where I wanted to be in 5 years. Not only did I not know where I wanted to be in 5 minutes, but I said something nice, positive, and vague, like, I'm hoping to do good in the world and get paid to do that good. They nodded like I'd said something profound. I nodded thinking I'd said something that was worth agreeing with. We both moved on, and yet none of us pointed out I had said absolutely nothing. Here's what I should have been asked. What do you want to be able to do in 2 years that you can't do today? We are taught to set outcome goals. Get the promotion, land that sales number, get the fancy schmancy title. There's a big problem with this, which is that outcome goals are usually well beyond your control. But you can control one thing, which is what are you learning? And this is where setting specific learning goals becomes genuinely powerful. Research shows that vague goals, like I want to get better at leadership, barely move the needle. But specific skills-based goals, like I want to be able to successfully run a negotiation on a contract by December, do something completely different to your brain. Specific goals activate what psychologists call implementation intentions. First up, I want you to write down 3 skills you want to genuinely own in the next 2 years. Now, I want you to be super specific here. Not I want to get better at communication, but I want to be able to own a room with 50 people in it without my voice shaking by X date. Next, I want you to do something a little funky. I'd like you to identify for each goal between 1 and 3 gaps you have between where you are now and where you'd like to be in the future. Be honest, nobody's grading you. Lastly, I'd like you to write down 1 thing that you could do to close the gap for each of your goals. And I want this to be done in an if-then format. Note that this gap is not a judgment, it's actually the plan. It will help you reverse engineer the role, the skills, and exactly what you and your brain need to be searching for opportunities to spend more time with, so that you can close that gap and get those skills built. 2 more pieces of research I wanted to bring home here. The first is based on Carol Dweck's work on mindset at Stanford. She showed that people who frame their goals around skills and learning instead of outcomes, which are again out of your control, are significantly more resilient when things get difficult. They interpret setbacks as feedback rather than failure, which means that they keep going for longer. And next is Peter Gollwitzer's research on implementation intentions at NYU. And he found that if you form specific if-then formulas for the goals that you set, like the ones we just did. For example, if I'm in a meeting, then I'll practice clarifying questions. Goal achievement rates increase significantly as opposed to setting vague intentions. Again, writing it down completely changes how your brain processes and filters the information in your environment. I want you to think about the last 3 significant opportunities in your career, or even really in your life. A job, a project, an introduction that opened the door. Got them in your head? Now I want you to think about how each one of those actually happened. I'd bet that at least 2 of them came from someone you at least kind of knew. Not your best friend, not a close colleague, but probably maybe someone you'd had coffee with once, or that you met at Coachella. Someone you passed in the hall in high school that you bumped into at the grocery store. That's not an accident, that's science. We're usually told to invest in your inner circle, find your people, build strong relationships. And that advice isn't wrong, it's just incomplete. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Your close friends and colleagues, they know the exact same people you know, and therefore they're exposed to the exact same opportunities that you are. They move in the same circles, they hear about the same opportunities, they have access to the same information. The stuff that you don't know about, the job that hasn't posted yet, the project that needs someone exactly like you, hope not me in my 20s, the introduction that changes everything. That stuff lives in the people that you've lost touch with, or that you don't really know. Those are called acquaintances, or weak ties. And most of us completely ignore them, because reaching out to them feels awkward. Weak ties are not really on the radar, so we just don't. And then wonder why our careers or our job searches feel stuck. Your third exercise is the weak ties list. This is gonna be fun, so grab a pen. Now, what I want you to do is go ahead and write down 10 people that you haven't spoken to in the last year. Former classmates, someone you bumped into at the grocery store, the person you meant to grab coffee with and just never did. I want you to write down 10 people's names. Now, I want you to pick 2 and reach out this week. Not to ask for anything, but simply to reconnect. Something like, hey, I've been thinking about you recently and would love to catch up for 15-20 minutes and connect. I'm in the process of learning more about next steps in my career and would love to pick your brain. Or not pick your brain. It sounds kind of gross, right? I'd love to do a virtual coffee. That's it. That's the plan. Not some crazy spreadsheet or 101,000 outreach moments on LinkedIn. Just 2 messages, send them. Now, this exercise comes from one of the most cited papers in social science history. As a sociology major, I geek out on it. It's called The Strength of Weak Ties, and it's from the 70s by a very smart man named Mark Granovetter. Granovetter found that people were more likely to find jobs through acquaintances rather than close friends, because acquaintances run in wider social circles and carry new information that you don't already have. This research has been replicated across industries and decades. So your next career move is probably just 1 weak tie away. Here's the awkward follow-up question. When they ask you in this meeting what you're actually looking for, what are you gonna say? That's coming up next. Final exercise. And warning, This one's going to make you slightly uncomfortable. Buckle up. All right, let's get started. Here's the question. What do your colleagues, work friends, or professional folks say about you in a group chat when you're not on it? Here's the awkward truth. Most of us lack self-awareness about how we show up at work. We think we know, but what we think we know and what we actually do are very different things. And this is why it matters for your career. When we enter the workforce, we optimize for all the wrong things. As discussed, our goals are non-specific, like I want to be successful. The goals are external. We're chasing other people saying good job at dinner parties. And often we're basically picking the easy stuff, the things that are available in arm's reach that come our way instead of what we go and try to find. So we end up in jobs that look good on paper, but feel quietly wrong in practice. Because finding the right job isn't about a mission statement or free snacks, although those are nice. It's about finding a place that actually fits how you like to behave, how you show up, and who you are when you're not paying attention at all. It's about finding a place where you can stand for what matters most, and they are talking magic behind your back in that group chat. And you can't find that great place to work if you're not clear on your values. So here's the exercise. What do you want that group chat to say about you? Not what it's saying right now. I want you to think about what you'd want to be known for. Not your title, not your output, but more like your character. How do you want people to feel after working with you? What problems do you want to be the one they go to solve? What do you want them to say about how you spend your time outside of work? I'm going to have you write those things down. We're going to put up a list of values right now that might help you brainstorm some of these things. And again, I'd like you to pick 3 to 5. We're going to have a handout at the end of this so that if this feels overwhelming to do right now on the screen, we gotcha. So for me, my 4 values are family, growth or learning, personal development, this kind of bucket of things. 3rd is lightness, fun, humor. And last but not least is truth. So go ahead and write those things down. Now, what I want us to do is think a little more deeply about them, which is, does your current role let you live these 3 to 5 things? Does it reward the things you care about? Meaning, when you're having a great day and feeling your best, do you feel like you get recognized for that version of yourself? Do you feel like you have people around you who are constantly reinforcing these things as opposed to making you quiet them down? If yes, meaning people love that you're into these things, you're in the right place. If the answer is no, it might be time to look for something new, because this is important data. This exercise is rooted in what's called acceptance commitment therapy, or ACT, which has been developed by the psychologist Stephen Hayes at the University of Nevada. It's one of our most extensively researched psychology studies that we have. The core principle is that values create clarity. In other words, really knowing what matters to you is one of the strongest predictors of meaningful, committed action. And the researcher Michael Steger at Colorado State University found that people who report a feeling of meaning at work burn out less. They're more engaged and they perform at a higher level. Not because their jobs are easier, because they know why they're doing them. Thanks, Simon Sinek. And it lines up with who they actually are when they're not having to try that hard. Know what you stand for, and then you find the room where you're actually valued. 4 exercises, 1 goal, a career that sticks. Start with your energy audit. Know what lights you up day to day. Then build your 2-year skills map. Get specific about where you're going. Reach out to 2 people on that week ties list. Start finding people who are going to help you get there. And last but not least, your group chat values. Know what you stand for. If I had known these 4 things at 22, I would have gotten to this place in my career way sooner. I don't think I would have burned out, and I definitely wouldn't have spent 3 years getting really good at project plans that I freaking hated. The career that sticks is not the one with the best title. It's the one built on what you actually stand for, what genuinely lights you up, where you're intentionally heading, and who you're willing to ask for a coffee catch-up. I put together a free PDF with all 4 exercises that you can download so that you can actually do these on your own and share them with your friends. The link is in the description. And if this resonated, check out last week's video, because once you know what you want, the key is figuring out how to do that without your brain getting in the way. That one's good. See you next week.